Hey guys, here's an update on the Sparton 400. I've tacked in some temporary replacement capacitors. Once I determine that the radio is viable, I'll order up some capacitors that are closer in exact value and mount them in a more cosmetically pleasing manner. I also tacked in an extra power resistor on that bias I mentioned so I can use these 71A output tubes. Flip this down, I'll show you what else I did. Up top I bypassed this old electrolytic with these two guys. Again, this is just temporary, just to see that the radio is viable. Then I'll probably cut open the bottom of this can and mount these two capacitors inside and reroute the leads to the top to make it look more authentic. So once that was done and I double checked all the other wiring to make sure it was sound, I hooked it up to a dim bulb tester. What that is it puts a light bulb in series with the AC power line. So in case when you turn it on there's a dead short, say in the power transformer, the light bulb will soak up that current instead of frying your radio. So after that checked out, I hooked in a solid state rectifier in place of the kind of pricey 80 tube and powered it up with that, and I got a nice good about 350 volts DC. Next I populated the other tubes back in the set and put the speaker in place and fired it up. And here's what I found. Turn off the light so you can see this. So the tubes are glowing nicely. Except there is a faint blue glow in one of the 71 output tubes, which means it's probably gassy. So the seller I got this from on eBay maybe wasn't so honest with his statement that it was a good tested tube. At any rate, it's good enough for right here for right now. Because if I turn this up, I can actually get some sound out. Now, it's clearly not playing right now. So what I did for the next step is I took a screwdriver, and what you can do is you can touch it on these caps on top of the tubes, which are the grids for the various stages of amplification. Not a whole lot here. Get to this tube, and yeah, you hear a loud hum, and you can actually hear a little bit of an actual radio station. Now, I'd heard that these radios were pretty notorious for the IF transformers being burned out, and the fact that these leads going to the tubes actually have electrical tape on them led me to believe that there may be something going on under those cans. So I popped the one off next to the tube that was questionable, and I discovered that the coil inside had a broken lead up top there. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. There we go. I've actually used the zoom feature on this camera before. So a little itty bitty wire there I'll have to solder on a little bridge to get over to that terminal, and I'll remount it. That's the coil that actually connects the antenna inputs to the first stage of amplification. So it's this coil right here next to that variable capacitor. So I'll get that hooked back up and we'll see how it plays. Okay, I've got the coil repaired. A little bit of soldering, a little bit of wax. I recently picked up a nice big block of electronics grade wax. Regular old beeswax doesn't hold up so well. It melts at too low a temperature. So this is like refined beeswax, paraffin wax. Anyways, I soldered in some little jumper wires and melted some wax onto it, and the radio's working better now. At first it worked okay, but what really made a big difference, aside from fixing the coil, was the antenna. I had been using a modern AM loop antenna, but in hindsight, that's not the kind of antenna this radio expects. If you look on a schematic, they show an antenna, or an aerial actually, I should say, and then the other side is ground. Well, that's what these two terminals are for. This is supposed to go to ground, and this is the antenna. So I had those both going to that loop, which I think in effect was shorting out the antenna input. So now what I've hooked up is this long wire going way off into the distance, and it's working a lot better now. Now as far as the ground goes, I think traditionally you took that to a cold water pipe, or even run a rod into the ground and run a wire out outside. Excuse me, I've heard you can hook that up to the ground terminal on an outlet, but I want to do some more research on that before I hook that up to anything. Anywho, it's working better. It's still not great though, because I have the volume cranked up pretty much all the way right now. And it's also very sensitive to exactly how I have this antenna positioned as I move around. And the controls are a little touchy, as you can hear. Some contact cleaner should help out with that volume control. Also have a lot of computers on, and probably my camera isn't helping any either with all that buzzing and interference you can hear. Also, I still have this this one questionable tube that's glowing blue as I'm looking at it, which is probably going to burn out at some point. So yeah, a little bit more tuning up, contact cleaner on these controls, and I think we'll be in good shape. That's it for now.